We think we have a pretty good handle on what intelligence is. It's about getting good grades, right? Being quick with math, acing a test. But what if I told you that the real story is so much more complex, way more surprising, and honestly, a lot more hopeful?
So, to get our heads around this, let's just start with a simple question. If you look at a group of people, how would you decide who's the most intelligent? Just think about that for a second, because your answer might be totally different in a few minutes.
All right, let's actually put some faces to this. First up, we've got Mahesh. He's the kid you'd call a genius, always first in his class, a master at math and science, but he really struggles with group work and doesn't have a lot of friends. Then there's Rajni. Her grades are pretty average, but she's a social butterfly. She knows everyone, and everyone loves her. And finally, we have Raju. His report card is just okay, but he's a brilliant painter. I mean, his art will take your breath away. So, to even begin to answer our question about who's the most intelligent, we first have to tear down the old definition. We have to understand what intelligence actually is, because it's so much more than just being good at school. Right, so just throw out the idea of test scores for a second. Researchers now see intelligence as this collection of really crucial life skills. It's your ability to adapt when things change. It's how you learn from your mistakes. And yeah, it absolutely includes things like Raju's creativity and Rajni's incredible people skills. At its heart, it's about using good judgment and reasoning out in the real world. This bigger, better understanding didn't just pop out of thin air. It came from a long, long journey by psychologists trying to literally map the human mind. And it all started with the hunt for a single core intelligence factor. So, way back when, a psychologist named Charles Spearman came up with this pretty neat and simple idea. He said we all have a G factor, or general intelligence. Just think of it like the raw processing power of your brain's CPU. And then we have lots of S factors, specific skills we learn, like being good at math or music or whatever. But of course, it couldn't be that simple, right? Another guy, Louis Thurston, came along and challenged that. He argued that intelligence isn't one big thing. It's more like a toolkit with a bunch of different, independent tools inside. He identified 7 of these primary mental abilities, like how well you use words, your spatial awareness, and your reasoning skills. The picture was already starting to get a lot bigger. And if you thought 7 different abilities was getting complicated, well, the next theory just blew that right out of the water. Just look at this number. 150. What in the world could that possibly represent? That massive number comes from J.P. Guilford and his incredible 3-dimensional model of the mind. He pictured our intellect as this kind of Rubik's Cube, creating a staggering 150 distinct abilities. Each one is a different combination of the mental operation you're doing, the content you're thinking about, and the final product of that thought. Wild, right? Okay, so things were getting pretty complex, pretty academic. But the real game changer, the real breakthrough, came when the theories finally broke out of the classroom and started looking at the whole spectrum of human smarts. And this is where Howard Gardner completely changed the game. He came forward with his theory of multiple intelligences and just blew the old definition to pieces. He identified at least 8 completely distinct kinds of smarts. Suddenly, we had the language to talk about the genius of Raju, the picture smart artist, and the incredible power of Rajni, who is off the charts people smart. Gartner's whole idea is captured perfectly in this one quote. It completely changed the conversation. The question was no longer, are you smart? It became, how are you smart? It was this huge validation that everybody has their own unique and valuable blend of intelligences. All right, so this next idea is super interesting because it shifts our focus again. It's not just about listing the types of intelligence you have, but about looking at how you actually use it. It's not what you've got, it's what you do with it. So Robert Sternberg looked at intelligence as an active process, like a mental workflow. He broke down problem solving into these basic steps. First, you have to encode or identify the important info. Then you infer what it means, map it to things you already know, figure out how to apply it, and finally, you come up with the best response. And the crucial point he made was that we use this mental workflow in 3 core ways. First, there's analytical intelligence, your classic book smarts. Then there's creative intelligence, which is all about dealing with new, novel situations. And finally, and this is so important, there's practical intelligence, the street smarts we use every single day to just get by and succeed. Okay, so this all leads to the million-dollar question, right? If intelligence is this huge, complicated, multifaceted thing, how in the world are you supposed to measure it with a single test? Well, the most famous attempt, as you probably know, is the intelligence quotient, or IQ. The original formula was actually pretty straightforward. It took a person's mental age, which was determined by a test, divided it by their actual chronological age, and then multiplied that by 100 to get a nice round number. And that formula spits out a score that places you on a scale, kind of like this one. A score of 100 is considered the statistical average for the population, with different labels for scores that fall above or below that middle line. Now look, IQ tests are, let's just say, controversial. They definitely don't capture the whole amazing picture we've been talking about, but they are still used as practical tools in places like schools to help identify students who might need some extra support or, on the other hand, kids who are gifted and need more of a challenge. So let's circle all the way back to the beginning, back to our three students. We have Mahesh, the academic wizard, Rajani, the social expert, and Raju, the phenomenal artist. After everything we've just gone through, who is the most intelligent? And the modern understanding of intelligence gives us a beautifully clear answer. All of them. It's not a cop-out. Mahesh has incredible logical mathematical intelligence. Rajni's interpersonal intelligence is through the roof. And Raju's spatial and bodily kinesthetic intelligence is world-class. They're all highly intelligent, just in different and equally valuable ways. So I guess the main takeaway here is this. Intelligence isn't a single score. It's not a grade. It's this rich, beautiful, diverse spectrum of human capability. It's how we adapt, how we create, how we connect. So I'll leave you with one final question. After all this, what's your definition of intelligence now?